We're very glad that all of you are here today, and I want to say congratulations to everyone on their academic achievements and what they will be presenting to us. And those of you who are not presenting, you are even more important because we have to have audience to appreciate what is going on. So thanks to everyone, and I would like everybody to give themselves a big hand right now. And just a few housekeeping announcements. We are going to record all sessions, so if you are in front of a mic, please do not do this. Stay in front of your mic. And I would like to announce for a meeting of the majors that if you are a dual degree engineering person and also a physics person, you need to go to Goslin 100 today for your meeting. All right, and I'd like to thank everyone that made this possible, from the library staff to special events to David Patterson and Lisa Larson. Thank you, everyone. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce your SGA president, Maya Hayes.
Welcome, students, faculty, staff, and lovers of learning. As it was mentioned before, my name is Maya Hayes, and I'm Student Government Association President. I hope you all had a great morning mingling with others as we kicked off Oglethorpe University's annual Liberal Arts and Sciences Symposium, celebrating and commending the creative and analytic achievements of the Oglethorpe students. I'm honored to have the privilege of introducing this year's keynote speaker, Dr. Mark Bauerlein. Dr. Bauerlein received his doctorate in English from the University of California, Los Angeles in 1988, and has since served as an esteemed English professor at Emory University here in Atlanta, Georgia for over 20 years. From 2003 to 2005, Dr. Bauerlein held the position of the Director of the Office of Research and Analysis at the National Endowment for the Arts, contributing to the NAE's study, Reading at Risk, a survey of literary reading in America, prior to returning to Emory University. But most recently, Dr. Bauerlein has become notable for his concerns of social media's impact on today's youth and their intellectual growth. Evident in his award-winning 2008 book, The Dumbest Generation, How the Digital Age Stupefies Young Americans and Jeopardizes Our Future, or Don't Trust Anyone Under 30, which he will be in the room over here signing afterwards. So please join him there if you would like to discuss more about the topic. So here to speak to you on social media and its harms, please join me in a round of applause and welcome Dr. Mark Bauerlein.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. I really mean that. You have a lovely campus. It's a great time of year to be here at campus. As you said, I went to a large public university as a student, UCLA, and I've been at Emory, a big private research university, or perhaps it's a huge medical complex with a little college attached to it, which is part of Emory's great success, actually. But frankly, when I think about undergraduate experience in life and learning, I can't really much imagine a better setting, a better atmosphere than what you have here. I've often actually thought about moving to a small liberal arts college instead of a research university where the primary mission is the intellectual and academic lives of 18 to 23-year-olds. And that's really the motivation for that book with the blunt title. I was going to dedicate it to my wife, but when she saw the full title, she said, please don't put my name on this book. So there we are. But let me contextualize that with a quick point, the dumbest generation. And the thesis there is that young people today are so swamped with digital tools, digital devices, the social media that goes with them, that they have become carriers and intensifiers of youth culture, youth concerns, adolescent content, images, gossip, and so on. And what they have done is prevent a lot of the more intellectual, more historical, cultural, literary, and artistic, political, geographical materials of the bigger world from coming into their lives at the proper time. You leave high school, you go into college, that's supposed to be a big threshold in which you're saying, I'm leaving adolescence now. I'm leaving the world of 16 and 17 behind, and I am moving into the grown-up world, which means I need to realize that what happened 50 years ago may be more important, and what happened 50 years ago in summer 1963 on the Mall of Washington, D.C. may be more important than what happened in the cafeteria this week, or in the party on Saturday night. That what Homer wrote a few thousand years ago about the death of Hector is really more important than what someone wrote in a piece of gossip on a website. That's what's supposed to happen during these transitional years, but it's hard when you have an avalanche of this material coming into your lives at all hours of the day. Young people, adolescents who have a mobile device of some kind, on average, send or receive 3,500 text messages per month, more than 100, significantly more than 100 per day. They still do 225, 250 phone calls a month. They have the social media, the Twitter and the Facebook and email, the web browsing on youth-oriented websites. They have adolescent-oriented TV shows as well, and this creates just a massive youth media, youth communication diet that hits them at midnight in their dorm rooms, that they can turn on the TV while they're doing their homework, and there are 7 or 8 channels purveying adolescent material, youth-oriented material to them. And that when we look at just the balance of time, which is, time is limited. Okay? There are only so many hours in the day, one finds that the tidal wave never stops. Pew Research was looking at teens and cell phones in their report a while back, and about 85% of teenagers with a cell phone sleep with it in the on position right there next to the pillow. They want to be awakened at 2 in the morning if a crucial piece of gossip or a photo comes through. So even when they're sleeping, even when you are in class and out of the network, it's still going on. And that you can enter it anytime, anywhere, pretty much these days. If you're sitting in the back of your parents' car driving up Highway 85 in the middle of North Georgia, you can conduct a social life. If you're in bed at midnight, you can flip open the laptop, turn on the tablet, and have a social life. I couldn't. You're not there. Most of you have, before you start beginning sentences, when I was, your age. But it comes to all of us. But I didn't have that. I didn't have a room outfitted with 4 media devices of some kind. There were only 5 TV channels when I was 15 years old, and there was hardly anything oriented toward adolescence at that time. So when I say the dumbest generation, I'm not talking about you, your minds, your intelligence, your abilities, your ambitions. What I'm saying is you've grown up in a media environment that has put way out of balance the proportions of sort of adult, cultural, political material and youth social material. And it's affecting your school hours as well. The numbers on this for undergraduates in America are that they spend roughly 3 times as much during an average week on socializing, social media, and personal entertainment, through the web or watching TV, than they do on homework. They spend about 12, 13 hours a week on average in studying for class, and we're up to 35 or 40 hours a week plus on social media and entertainment. And this is a terrible loss. I was just talking to one of the students here about to graduate, and I said, wow, it went fast. She goes, oh, it went so fast. And I said, tell the freshmen and sophomores it's a very finite period of time in your lives, and that you have to take classes, to read great books, to look at great art, to talk about great political events, historical episodes, heroes and villains, and you can talk about people who are experts in these things who want to share them with you. When you're 30 years old and someone says to you, what do you really regret about your college years? You will not say, I really wish I'd spent more time browsing the web. I really wish I'd sent a few more text messages. I really wish I'd worked on my Facebook page more often. You're not going to say that. What you're going to say is, I wish I'd taken a course in art history where I could have studied Renaissance painting and Baroque sculpture. You'll say, I wish I left there learning more about world history, about Judaism, ancient Judaism, and the Middle East, geography. That's what's going to hit you. You're going to have, I have those regrets myself, that I spent too much time when I was young on these matters. And the difference is that I didn't have so many opportunities and occasions to ease away from those intellectual, academic, historical, cultural, political things. I didn't have a TV in my bedroom. I didn't have any cell phone. I couldn't do any text messages. There was no Facebook. There was no Twitter. I didn't have the opportunity to socialize as much. I would go home and social life ended. You crossed the front door and it was my parents' world. Okay? It was their TV. It was their conversation that would dominate. And I didn't like them. I didn't want to talk to them. I was 16. What 16-year-old really does? I was bored. I didn't want to hear about Richard Nixon and Watergate and Vietnam. I didn't care about that. I'm 15 years old. But I didn't have another place to go. I couldn't go like this at the dinner table, right? Couldn't do it. So the criticism there implied in that Dumbest Generation title, it's not about what you inherently are. It's about the circumstances that you are in, and that you have to exercise much more vigilance than I ever did. You have a greater burden to apportion your time properly. You have to fend off these temptations toward gossip stuff and pictures and youth culture, peer pressure, much more than I did. That was my advantage. And so the thing that you need to think about is what Ben Franklin thought about, and what Jimmy Gatz, when he was young, thought about, which was, I've got to think of my life in more strategic terms. I've got to think more long-term. What can I do now that's going to help me 5 years from now? What is leading me into frivolous or trivia, superficial pursuits, and how do I, at least for a time, put myself in a different situation? And one of the things that I want to cultivate here bears upon one of the themes today, and that is humanities versus science. At the root of the humanities is an experience. Let me ask quickly, how am I doing on time? Okay, 2 more minutes. And then, because I want questions, the topic is obviously one to provoke replies. But the humanities are rooted in experience. It really comes down to your mind at a specific moment and an object. The object might be the 19th century landscape painting, and you're in the museum and you go and stand in front of it, and it is a direct engagement. You and that object, looking at color, form, arrangement, light, shadow, and you're taking it in directly, without interruption, without distraction. It has to be an intense engagement. You open the book, and there you have the death of Hector. And you read those lines, and the rest of the world disappears. When you're in the Starbucks and that book is open, and you are so engaged, and someone comes over and says, "Hey, dude, what's up?" And you say, "What's up?" "This is what's up, right here. Now go away. I'm busy." That's the mindset that you have to have. You could be sitting there listening to the opening 3 minutes of Tristan and Isolde, okay, Wagner's opera, and you are intensely engaged with this. And you're saying to yourself, only a genius could have produced something like this. That's what it comes down to. It is a slow, focused concentration on the object. You see the problem in a digital environment. You're constantly interrupted. You are distracted. You're accelerated. The humanities object, you must slow down. You must appreciate. You must engage, again, with nothing else, so that you are fixed upon that thing. That's what counts. That's the base of the humanities, and this is just one threat that digital culture will pose to that, the inability to concentrate on the one thing in a linear fashion. So, if you find that that isn't happening, if you find you can't read 10 pages without getting fidgety, there's a problem. Okay? If you find you can't stop in front of the painting and spend 5 full minutes focused on it, there's a problem. If you can't take a walk through the woods for 10 minutes without thinking, who can I call? Who can I contact? That's a problem as well. So I'll end with that exhortation, and we can, I think I've gone about 20 minutes. We can open it up to questions, comments, remarks, issues. I'm not sure how you want to have people line up at the microphone. Is that what we should do?
Okay, again, if nobody heard my introduction, I'm Maya Hayes. One of my questions is, I hear from what you're saying that we have a big situation of students today or the youth today are struggling to pay attention because we're so tied to our electronics, and that's really causing a problem for us intellectually. But what was the cause of that, and how did this really start rolling the ball forward? Like, we didn't invent all of these things, nor fund all of these things, and so what responsibility we have in this issue?
Well, first of all, the tools are miraculous. Okay? I mean, this is an extraordinary revolution underway with the digital age. It has changed everything, mostly, obviously, for the better, for the much better, for medicine, for logistics, for communications, for transportation. Everything has gotten better because of the digital age, except culturally, okay? Except the area in which, during formative years, when you are really developing ideas, your values, the crucial age in which you are emerging into adulthood. We have a different socialization taking place. I mean, listen, I don't want to go too long. So if other people want to line up at the microphone, I'll shorten my answers. But the thing is that for you to be in touch with one another 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, this is an unprecedented condition for adolescence in human history. Most, up until the mid-20th century, roughly, teenagers spent most of their time around adults, under the direct command and guidance of adults. Most teenagers in 1910, the vast majority of them, close to 90% of them, were not in high school. They were working. They were under the command and control of adults. It was only in the course of the 20th century that we got more of them going to high school, which meant they were spending more and more time with one another in intense contact with one another in those big high schools. And we had the phenomenon of peer pressure. Before 1930, a teenager couldn't talk about my social life because a teenager didn't have a social life. What we have now is a 24/7 social life, potentially. Okay, that's the problem with the digital age. But we have to acknowledge, again, we're in the stages of an extraordinary advance in human capacity with the digital age. You just have a few people marking out there is a loss taking place as well. We don't want to let that loss be outsized. So we think, oh, this is horrible, what's going on? No. We want to contain it, but we want to acknowledge here we have a problem. So, okay.
Hi, my name is Kiri Kavinga. Wrote down my question. I may be way off base here, but assume that people are more successful, at least here, like more people our age are going to college. And those successful people, our generation, are facing these temptations and spending those 40 plus hours a week, as you said, on social media. But since more of us are going to college, wouldn't that mean that we are a more talented, if not smart generation, at least potentially?
We have a sharp rise in college attendance, in college attainment, in students having professional ambitions, and this is a very good thing. What we want to note are a few things that blunt the optimism about that. One is that employers now are constantly complaining that college graduates don't have the skills and knowledge to do the work. Too many of them are coming out of college, they're getting the degree, but they're not getting the education that they had before. The value of a college degree has gone down. And this is what employers will say. That's a concern. Two, one worries that the education system at the lower end is not making more, even though they're getting high school diploma, they're not getting as much education as they did before, and the measure of that is grade inflation. I graduated from high school with a 3.1 GPA. I barely had a B GPA, and I think today that wouldn't look very strong on a college and a selective college applications. But back then it was okay. You know, it got me into UCLA. It would never get me into UCLA. Now you need to be close to 4.0. So I think grade inflation is a concern about educational attainment. But I think I should just take your point and see the ambitions are very strong. More college degree, more education, and then we are seeing that happening. So, but let me get to the next comment.
Hi, I'm Jenny Prescott. I was raised in a predominantly Republican Christian environment. I went to a all-Christian school, and I was only subjected to that world. And then once I was latched onto social media, I learned so much more, and I was able to sample other people's opinions and learn more from other people that were outside of my little bubble. I learned more from TED Talks than I did in 4 years of high school. And I don't know.
Really?
Really.
Really?
Really. I don't know. I think technology, the good part of it at least, is incredible. I've learned so much from it than I have in going to a small Christian private school.
Yeah, and this is one of those advances that you see. People are able to communicate outside the niche, outside of their more narrow acculturation, and we certainly see this happening frequently. And the thing is, it's all there. You can do this. It was much harder than it was before. I mean, look, we have the whole universe, most of the universe, of knowledge available now, right here. Works in museums. You don't have to go travel to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in order to see these things. You don't have to go into an archive to get old maps. You know, I mean, it's extraordinary. You can read newspapers across the world. So again, that potential for expansion and knowledge growth is amazing right now. But again, the problem is when we look at tests, when we look at college reports about learning, we're not seeing enough students, we're not seeing that many students taking advantage of the intellectual possibilities of the tools. And I think that's a measure of the too much a social immersion. The tools have a social meaning, not enough of an intellectual meaning. So, yes.
Hi, my name is Linda Napier. I'm a non-traditional student, so I'm here at Oglethorpe, and I'm aware of the interruptions that electronic media cause. But I'm also interested in the difference in brain mapping and how the brain interprets these constant interruptions and what it does. And I'm wondering if you could elaborate on that if you know of any information.
I think it's an open question because we're new into this. The practices are so much evolving and developing. We're not sure what that long-term impact upon brain development may be. I mean, there are initial studies that actually show how plastic the brain is, how changeable it is given different environments. But you know, it's so new, things are changing so quickly. How do you develop the firm data on causal effects of this? We don't know. And again, who knows, in 20 years, we may have chips in our brains doing things. In what medicine is doing with digital technology inside the body is becoming extraordinary. And so it's going to be very hard to predict. I mean, inserting cameras in the bloodstream, these little microscopic cameras to look at people's arteries, for instance. This is technology that is developing. So I think it's just, it's open
But
right now.
do you have any findings on the frequency of interruption of a person, say, concentrating, and on the developmental brain, the specific age group of 16 to, say, 26?
You know, they have very preliminary brain imaging studies of what happens to the brain when it encounters faces of other people. Like, how can you read what is going on inside other people when you look at photographs? So they're trying to measure empathy, for instance. And what they find is that, you know, some initial findings are heavy users of screen technology don't have as strong a brain activation for empathy. But again, it's so preliminary. I mean, it just started, right?
Right.
I mean, these things. Facebook is 6 years old, really. I mean, it started in 2005, but it didn't really expand until about 2007. So.
But the critical point, I think, is damage is being done, and we need to be aware of it before decades go by, and you know, you have those very critical developmental windows that don't get developed.
These are the years when the
Yes.
hard wiring is taking place, yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah, okay.
Hello. Oh, hi. My name's Benjamin, and I'm a bio major here at Oglethorpe University. And I'm always hearing how my professor's like, "Oh, you have it so good. You know, I used to use dialogue and have to open up a book and find it in the catalog, and then go to the library and stuff like that." So technology, you know, we have to both say that it's awesome. My simple question here is very simple. I would like you to just possibly tell us really quickly a tangible plan of action that you propose that we can set in place that would possibly not stunt our technological growth
Yeah.
without, hopefully.
Two things. One, in the morning, over breakfast, for 15 or 20 minutes, read a newspaper. A print newspaper. You don't have to read every story. You don't have to cover. You just read some of the headlines, look at the stories that interest you, read the op-ed, the editorial and op-ed page, and just work into your morning coffee and donut the paper. Okay, a slow morning. The philosopher Hegel called the newspaper modern man's early morning prayer. But this is a chance for you to familiarize yourself with the bigger world. You're learning things about what's going on. You're seeing opinions traded back and forth. But you're also having a time without interruption, without diversion. You're not getting into social stuff, seeing what's going on. So there's one. Two, 1 hour of reading a night. It could be your studies, but one book, you're focused on that. Or it could be a fun book. It could be a murder mystery or a vampire novel, whatever. But 1 hour of book reading per night. That is good training in mental training in concentration, linear experience. There, two things. 15 minutes with a paper in the morning, 1 hour with a book at night. Okay.
I actually have a bit of a question. Although I do see your point in regards to the technological thing, how can you be so certain that, how humanities are being taught right now is even a good thing? What's to say that that the professors in the humanities aren't, promoting socialism or trying to promote the 1960s or claim that we Christians are, misogynistic or something like that?
This is a problem with the humanities. And I think that over the course of the past few decades, that the humanities have often lost their way. I think at liberal arts colleges like Oglethorpe, we've got the focus on teaching upon the memory of the past. You have a core curriculum here. You have a great books kind of thing, which I heartily approve of. I'm a traditionalist in matters of education. I'm a conservative when it comes to education and tradition, and I think that we should focus on the great books. I believe in high art, high culture. I don't believe that we should have courses on Harry Potter, which are being taught at the senior level over in my department at Emory. I think this is a terrible opportunity cost. Not that Harry Potter's bad. I'm reading Harry Potter to my son right now. I've read almost 5,000 pages out loud to him. I can't take Hermione and anyway. But look, I believe quite strongly in humanities tradition. And I see that has deteriorated in humanities classrooms, in part because some professors politicized their classrooms too much. They regarded the humanities as a form of social change, which I think is a terrible mistake of any kind of social change to make the classroom that way. And the other thing is they lost confidence in their material. They stopped believing how great it is to watch Satan spying on Eve in the Garden of Eden and suffering over his own condition, about what Dido does when she sees Aeneas is gone. They simply came to lose their conviction about the greatness of the past and their focus on things that are great. Now, if I said that in a humanities meeting, everyone would say, high culture is just a political formation. I said, I don't think so. I don't think it is. And here are the reasons. But if humanities people can't stand up and say, we teach the best that has been thought and said, that's what you're going to get in our classrooms. If you can't stand up and say that, then why should anyone pay $50,000 a year to be taught by you, right? I mean, that's so I think we've got the great stuff. I think we got the best material in our classrooms, and that students will remember it for the rest of their lives if we give them the firm exposure to it. So, okay.
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
Hey.
One more.
I wanted to kind of react to your point on undergraduate populations not being prepared for work outside of college. When I was in high school, I was applying to colleges in my senior year, and there was a girl who had both of her parents were doctors, so she came from a more wealthy background than I, which my mom wasn't working, she was on disability. And we applied to the same school. I not only had higher grades, but had more activities throughout high school and had higher international and advanced placement scores. And she was accepted to the school that I wasn't accepted to. And her offer was that she had to actually pay full tuition.
Yeah.
Don't you think that undergraduates not being prepared for the workplace may be attributed to the fact that colleges have become such a business mecca? Like, rather than like, I don't want to educate you, but I'll take your money. And when you, like, I appreciate your money.
Colleges,
I mean,
colleges are businesses, all right? They are businesses, and they have to, if they lose money, they can't exist anymore. So they're going to, some of those decisions will involve some compromise of intellectual values. I think we just have to accept that. And they need the tuition money. Things have been bad for a few years. Last year was good for the stock market. That was good for college investments. But the years before were a disaster. So I think that it's unfortunate that we don't have the college atmosphere being fully oriented around academic values. But it's, bills have to be paid. People have to be paid, and so this is a fallen world. So, but you got into Oglethorpe, so
I did. I love it.
okay.
Well, thank you, Dr. Bauerlein. We're going to have to break now for meeting of the majors. And before you do, I'd like to give a round of applause for our speaker.
Thank you.
And I'd also like you to encourage all of you, when you see Dr. Shaw or any of the administration, faculty, and staff today, please thank them for supporting the LASS and making this possible. Thank you.